Yeah. So we were discussing about the compounds of major hazard control systems. What are the things has to be covered in control systems? Okay. We covered up to the training part, then siting and land use planning by ensuring the safe separation and distances. Again, this is talking about the distances between the various operations. One second, guys. One second. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Then inspection of MH units by the plant management and also the government authorities at the top priority and more frequently. As I mentioned, the frequency third party will do once in a year, and also apart from that, even inspector of factories also they will casually visit. Those frequency has to be increased for a better control. Now we'll see some of the causes of major accidents to be studied include a component failures and deviations from the normal operating conditions, the human and organizational errors, outside accidental interferences, natural forces, mischief or stoppage. These are accidents. Okay, so when I say what are the causes or the safe operational image installation should pay attention on, so which are the various areas we have to concentrate more to avoid this major accidents. One is design, manufacturing and assembly of your components including equipment, pipelines, fittings, instruments, etc. Then process controls like SRVs or PRVs, even temperature control systems, etc. Then safety systems like sensors, controllers, pressure relief valves, emergency shutdowns, bunds, water space, and fire restrictions. When we say bund, it is nothing but to collect in case of any collapse of tanker or any excess release, or in case of any emergency vent opens.
If any furnace oil leak from tank.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, it will be having 110% capacity should be installed as a bund. So if it is having 100-liter capacity, as an example, so the bund should capable to contain 110 liters of the
It is also
material.
considered as a secondary containment.
Yes, yes. Secondary containment we used to say for portable barrels,
Any
like
diesel leakage, any diesel
barrels and
leakage.
all. We used to say secondary containment for bulk storage and all. We used to call it as a bund only.
But right,
Yeah,
right.
bunds. Yeah. Then monitoring of safety related components and their systems, inspection, maintenance and repair, and effects of change. So effects of change in the sense, even process change, equipment change, even any methods changes, even we used to call as MOC, management of change. Those changes also should be carefully considered. Then training of the workers, so whoever involved in this processes or in the MH installations, they should be well trained about the hazards which are associated in their activity. Then supervision, control of contract works. So supervision again based on the responsibilities defined, who is uh, responsible for a specific activity or area. They should continuously supervise their premises and also the people so that we can control in case of any deviations from the people, and also control of contract works. So this is also a critical activity or area we should be take good care, because the contractors are not familiar with their focus always on completion of their contract job and just go away from the plant. So we should be very strict, and also we should have contract safety management procedures or plans, or contract management system, safety management systems in place, so that we can effectively coordinate, control, and monitor their contract activities, and complete it in a safer manner. Now we'll
Sir,
see the
here,
type.
hazard study
Yeah.
also considered, no, sir? Hazard study?
Yes, yes, yes. Even HAZOP study also will. MH installations, it is mandate. They have to do this HAZOP study.
Okay. So, the tail number is there, maybe it may be mentioned tail number HISAB.
Sorry.
Can we consider HISAB as a tail number? Here we have you have to mention that 9 number, but can you consider as a HISAB as a one of the part is
Yes, yes, that can be
MH?
considered. So when we say monitoring of safety related components and systems, in the sense, there itself it will cover even process controls. The process control
Okay.
also it will cover HAZOP. So how you'll understand the process controls by doing the
Oh,
HAZOP. That
okay.
is in a monitoring. Here it is about the in the installation. What are the areas you have to consider?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Then the types and the consequences of major accident hazards. So basically, when we say type, so there are fire, explosion, toxic release, or the three main types of major hazards, and death, injury, evacuation of people, property loss, environmental damage are the main types of the consequences. The type of major accident hazards are fire hazard, explosion, and toxic release. The consequences: injuries, death, evacuation of people, loss of property, and environmental damage. These are the consequences. So when we say fire and explosion or toxic are three major hazards. So a fire can cause thermal radiation, skin burns, and the severity may be a degree and percentage. When we say burns, we have first degree burns, second degree burns, and third degree burns. When we say first degree burns, so that is in a minor this thing, so you will have just a reddishness of your skin. When we say second degree, your first layer of skin will be involved and it got burned off. When we say third degree, even your complete muscle tissues, even bones also involved in that fire accident. That is called third degree burns. It depends on heat intensity, exposure time, and also type of clothing. So when we say this degree of burns, the severity, as I mentioned, again, the intensity of heat, how intense it is, అంటే ఎంత తీవ్రత కలిగి ఉంది, how hot it is. Heat means even if you see in the summer hour we can feel the heat. That heat will not do any burns, but almost you will have a thermal burns who is having a very low melanin in our skin. They'll have some redness of their skin, or they'll become a tan, so it will not give any burns. But only few people can feel the ultraviolet rays. They can interact or intact with their skin, and they'll feel sunburns, but those are very minimal in nature because the heat intensity was less. If you involved in any fire accident, or if you are being in the area of the accident, then the intensity also a matter, and exposure time. So for that heat intensity, how much time you been exposed to that intensity of heat. Then also type of clothing you have. Nowadays in organizations we used to get a fire retardant clothing, so which will not it will not catch fire, and it will give some protection for certain minutes or seconds. Okay, so basically if you see in our general skin withstand heat of 10 kilowatt of meter cube for 5 seconds and 30 kilowatt for 2 seconds, 0.4 seconds before the pain is felt. That is the heat energy our skin can able to withstand. And when we say the frequency of fire in industry is more than explosions and toxic releases, but its lethal effects are comparatively less. However, in the ignition of escaping flames, vapor is delayed, an unconfined vapor cloud may form and it may explode if ignited. So, comparatively, explosions and toxic releases, the frequency of fire incidents are more, but their effects are less. Sometimes what will happen in case of absence of any ignition source, so what will happen, it will escape from the plant and it will form a vapor cloud. After that, in case of any ignition source is available nearby, then it can explode. So then if you see the type of fire, maybe a jet fire or pool fire, flash fire, and also blevy, boiling liquid uh, vapor explosion, that is boiling liquid evaporating vapor explosion. A jet fire occurs from an injected gas pipe leak. So in case of any gas leak, like pinholes or potholes, or sometimes from the gas cuts, there they will see a jet fire, like you see burners where the burners they do on a welding or gas welding, or they do use the gas burner for some heating applications. Even if you see in the meat shops, they use a burner. That is a kind of a jet fire. A pool fire from a drained material in a dike. So pool fire, it is nothing but a fire which is on the dike. For example, especially you see in the movies, over the water they put a fire with some of the fuels. Even petrol also can burn over the water. That is a pool fire. And flash fires occur in a gas reaches to a source of ignition. It is a kind of, again, it is a flash fire, like it is a bomb kind of thing, and rapidly burns back at the source of release. And also blevy occurs when flammable vapor leaking from any vessel or pipe expands and also disperse in the air as a cloud, and when the cloud is could ignited. So this blevy happens, the escaped the gases of flammable mixture to the atmosphere. Then in case of ignition source available at that time, it can explode. And a fireball occurs, causing enormous heat radiation. A blevy from 50 tons of propane tank can cause third degree burns at 200-meter radius, and blasters at 400 meters. So 15 tons of propane tank, if it get explodes around 200 meter, it can create a third degree burns. And even explosion is in a shock wave that can cause damage where it hurts. Even primary and direct effect is due to the shock wave of explosion itself, and this is in a direct vicinity may die due to the effects of overpressure. People can also thrown away, blown over, or also knocked down or buried under collapsed materials. And secondary and indirect effects is an effect of shock wave generated by the primary effect. So basically, if you see in a case of when I take Diwali as an example, all some crazy people used to do some experiments with the crackers. So they'll get in a cracker, they'll lighten it, and over that they used to have keep the metal containers or oil containers. So it will give a blast effect. It can blow away. That is a shock wave effect, which is happens with an explosion. If it is a bomb kind of thing, what will happen? Even the infrastructure also can be collapsed. So these are all secondary events which is resulting of a primary effect. The primary effect is a shock wave. And the history of explosion shows that the indirect effects of collapsing buildings, flying or broken glasses and debris cause far more deaths and injuries. Apart from the primary effect, shock wave, the secondary effect, it resulting in more injuries and more deaths. Okay, that is the case of Blevy. Then we see the type of explosions. So the explosions are deflagration, detonation, and also confined and unconfined explosions and gas and dust explosions. So when you see a burning velocity of a flame speed is slow, example 1 to 10 meters per second, deflagration takes place in a confined space. It generates a low pressure. When we say deflagration, it especially happens in the confined spaces. Okay, when a flame speed is very high, which is 2000 to 3000 meter per second, it is a detonation, basically generates in high pressure like 200 kilopascals. Some degree of vapor confinement is necessary. That is the two major differences between deflagration and detonation. Okay, and again, if an explosion in a confined place like any vessels or sometimes even pipe work also will be considered as in a confined space, drain, and also the building is called confined explosions. That occurring in an open air is called unconfined explosions. When it is a confined space in the wind where it is uh, having limited access, egress, etc., etc., the confined explosions causes higher pressure and also may reach up to the hundreds of kilopascals. These are bit dangerous than the unconfined explosions. And even the explosion of vapor cloud after heavy leakage of any flammable gas is also called as gas explosion. A large vapor cloud can cause unconfined vapor cloud explosion, and boiling liquid expanding vapor explosions, or fireball. So these are the two different types of explosions can happen in the confined spaces or unconfined explosions. When we say explosion of a solid material in the form of dust, powder, or small articles or mixed with air is called dust explosion. So even basically these kind of dust explosions happens in grain or milk powder, a floor or coal dust or the flammable dust. The effects of dust explosion is mostly confined in the workplace. So mostly confined in the sense it is not a confined space again. Confined in the sense it is restricted to the workplace. It will not extend beyond the workplace because the dust is over a period of time it is settled over the horizontal surfaces or on the equipments or fittings or infrastructure, etc., etc. Once it is ignites, it is limited to that space. That is means confined explosion. Then toxic release. So toxic releases are caused due to the leakage and dispersion of toxic chemicals like gas and vapors in air. And as the workers are working near, they can affect the first, and therefore workplace monitoring, air gas sampling, and also environmental monitoring is required. So when we say toxic release, there are different the categories of explosions like we used to see LD and LC, so lethal dose and lethal concentration. Even there are few more limitations or exposure concentrations like TLVs, threshold limit values, or PLVs, permissible exposure limits, PEL. Even we have STEL, short term exposure limits. Then we have IDLH situations, immediate danger to life and health. These are the various exposure concentrations we see in the MSDSS. Even that is very important. We should train our all employees on these concentrations. Okay. So when we say PEL and TLV, threshold limit values, these are calculated for 8 hours of exposure. For example, if a chemical 5 ppm or 2 ppm for entire 8 hours of duration. So total 8 hours, you can expose up to 2 ppm or 3 ppm or 5 ppm. And when we say STEL, short term exposure limit, that is calculated for 15 minutes of duration. So if the STL limit is 5 ppm, so in that 15 minutes as a maximum, you can expose up to 5 ppm. Over that, you are not supposed to expose. Then IDLH situations, these are the situations where you can't take even one breath. అంటే మనము ఒక్క సెకండ్ కూడా ఆ గాలిని పీల్చుకోకూడదు. Based on nature of properties of the chemical, it may result in fatal. మనం ఒకసారి చనిపోవచ్చు. Sometimes it may leads to a major health hazard. That is our ideal situation. Ideal situations are always in the tankers, especially inside the tankers, or in case of any leakage happens, immediate to the leakage or near the vicinity will be ideal LH situations can occur. Okay. So the consequence of toxic releases are influenced by the wind speed, weather conditions, leak rate or mass released, toxicity, and also concentration at a particular place, and also by age, and also male, female, genetic background, uh, ethnic grouping, nutrition, vulnerability, old or age or sickness or diseases, exposure to other substances with synergetics effects, pattern of work, and also time of exposure. So these are the various factors uh, will be considered or will make us to expose or the effect or the consequence
The energetic effects, sir.
seen. For example, if a person who is having, he can able to expose certain amount, but the old adults or the senior citizen, they can't expose to the same quantity like a young person. That is where the the effect will be resulted. Even weather conditions, wind speed also, in case of any toxic release happens or toxic fumes happen, if the wind speed is very high, so the downward wind direction people will have more exposure, and also it will spreads a large area. Even weather condition also, so even sometimes if it is in a hot weather, due to the vapor density it can expand more. Sometimes if the winter, even due to the low temperatures, it can't evaporate as faster as like in a sunny time. Then leak rate, so for minute of time, how much liquid or toxic material it is got leaked. Even total mass released, leak means total leak rate means per minute or per hour or per day. Total mass released means how much amount of chemical which is released to the atmosphere. Then toxicity, so as I mentioned, LD50 or LC50. So LD means a lethal dose, LC means a lethal concentration. If you take an example of toxic release, so here we should consider only LC, because when I say LC, it is a concentration in the atmosphere. So if I say 10 ppm in the atmosphere, the LC, that is the LC concentration, 10 ppm in the atmosphere. So in that, 50% of population will die. If 100 people are there in that LC concentration, 50% if you people are die, that concentration will be considered as LC50. When we say LD50, so it is the direct dosage which are using on the test cases. So these basically they do on animals and even animal trials. So if you give a quantity of 1 mg or 2 mg to the 10 test animals, if the test animals dies in 50% of the population, so that 1 mg will be considered as LD concentration, lethal dose. Okay. So if you see the some of the examples of these toxic releases, one is chlorine, ammonia, even other chemicals like methyl isocyanate, which is happened in Bhopal and have caused disasters. Study toxicity and also the consequent analysis of such chemicals, and also advanced emergency planning are most essential. For example, indigenous release of 10 tons of chlorine may produce 140 ppm at 2 kilometers. In case of any 10 tons of chlorine leakage happens, so it can create 140 ppm at 2 kilometers. What is the maximum exposure we can expose for chlorine?
0.5 ppm.
0.5 ppm.
Yes.
See, when we say 0.5 ppm, even the TLV also same. Okay, STL is 1 minute, sorry, 1 ppm, and TLV is 0.5 ppm. Okay, when we say 1 ppm, so here it is creating 140 ppm. So it is almost 140 times, 139 times higher than that. So what will be the result? In 2 kilometers, nobody, even animals or the birds, whoever is having the life, so they will completely die. Nobody can save them. And also 15 ppm at 5 kilometers, you see, even distance d5, and whether chlorine can be lethal at 1000 ppm or at the 100 to 150 ppm for 5 to 10 minutes, and it affects is dangerous even 10 to 20 ppm for 30 minutes. Such data should be kept ready by all the major hazard works in respect of their high toxic chemicals with effect distance ppm and also counter of surrounding area. So this is very important that, so whoever is having or handling such a kind of toxic chemicals, they should have all these analysis. In case of 1 ton of chemical release, toxic release, so how many kilometers or society can able to affect at the various scenarios and various wind speed levels and all, they should have an immediate information. Okay, that is about MH installations. So we have another 5 minutes of time. So I'm not taking up a new topic. I think if I'm not wrong, hopefully we have completed IS 104 also. Let me check the list of topics. In this, we have covered the hazard identification techniques and plant and equipment safety appraisal system, accident and incident investigation and reporting, and major accident hazard. Even we have seen the reportings, form 18 and 18A. Yeah. With this, we have completed IS 104 paper. So from the next class, we'll start IS 106. So basically, I used to practice 105 will be always my last preference, so that it will be easy to remember to give a good attempt in the examinations. Okay. So any questions? So as of now, we successfully completed four
Chapter
papers.
4. Chapter 4.
Yeah, yeah.
ఐఎస్ 105 వేరే సార్ ఏదో కంటిన్యూ చేస్తాను కదా ప్రజెంట్ ఇప్పుడు.
ఈవెన్ దీస్ పేపర్స్ ఆల్సో, అంటే ఈ పేపర్లు కూడా సార్ చెప్తూ ఉంటారు, అన్ని పేపర్లు చెప్తూ
ఓకే
ఉంటారు. అక్కడ వినొచ్చు, ఇక్కడ వినొచ్చు, మీకు రివిజన్ అవుతుంది.
ఓకే ఓకే సార్. ఇది లాస్ట్ 3 క్లాస్ అది 105 స్టార్ట్ చేశారు సార్ వేరే సార్, అతను నేమ్ అని తెలియదు అండి ఎగ్జాక్ట్ గా.
ఓకే ఓకే, వినండి వినండి వినండి, అక్కడ వినండి. సో నేనేంటంటే, సో సార్ ఏంటంటే ఆయన ఫిజికల్ క్లాస్ చెప్తారు, ఆన్లైన్ చెప్తారు. నేనేంటంటే డెడికేటెడ్లీ ఆన్లైన్ క్లాసెస్ మాత్రమే.
ఓకే ఓకే
నేను
సార్.
ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసేది ఎండ్లో చెప్తాను. అంటే 7 పేపర్స్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత లాస్ట్ పేపర్గా 105 చెప్తే ఏంటంటే మీకు లాస్ట్లో కొంచెం గుర్తుంటుంది బాగా. అందరూ ఏంటంటే కొంచెం
అవును.
డిఫికల్ట్ ఫీల్ అవుతారు, బట్ అందులో ఏం డిఫికల్ట్ ఏమి ఉండదు, కొత్తగా ఉంటుంది అనమాట
ఓకే
సిలబస్.
ఓకే సార్.
Sir, this PPT
నెక్స్ట్
is
నేను
sufficient
106
for.
స్టార్ట్ చేస్తారు సార్.
అవునండి, 106 స్టార్ట్ చేస్తాను.
ఓకే ఓకే సార్.
లక్ష్మీదాస్ జీ बताइए.
Yes, sir. This PPT are sufficient for at least 70, 60 to 70 scoring marks.
If the paper comes easy, definitely I say yes, you will get. But
Okay.
if the
Most of.
paper comes in hard, I'll assure you that you will clear your examination
Okay. Okay.
with these PPTs. Yeah. So basically, as I mentioned previously, what we do is once we complete the syllabus, so as I mentioned in our previous classes also, we used to explain last 6-7 years of model papers. So with that papers itself, you will get in a confidence. So how you can prepare for the examination. So that is more than enough to clear your examination. Because if you, I mean, especially in the industries, nobody will ask you, I mean, how much score you got in the examination. They will ask you only whether you
That's it.
have SBTET diploma or not. That's all. So you don't bother about 70-80% of score. Definitely the subject knowledge is required. You try to concentrate and get knowledge on the subject. Definitely you will get a score.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
What just you asked certificate సార్. What is that సార్? Scoring is not important is telling na. Just certificate.
అంతే అండి. ఒకటి బేసిక్ ఏంటంటే మీరు ఇంటర్వ్యూకి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు మీరు ఎగ్జామ్ సర్టిఫికేట్ రాశారని చెప్తారు, కానీ అక్కడ స్కోర్ మెన్షన్ చేయరు కదా.
కరెక్ట్
ఈవెన్
కరెక్ట్
రెజ్యూమ్ లో
సార్.
కూడా మనం 10th క్లాస్లో ఎన్ని మార్కులు వచ్చినాయి, ఇంటర్లో ఎన్ని మార్కులు వచ్చినాయి, అదంతా ఓల్డ్ జమానాలో రాసాం మనం మార్కులు. నేను ఫస్ట్ క్లాస్ లో
అవునవునండి.
వచ్చాను, సెకండ్ క్లాస్ వచ్చాను, నేను క్లాస్ టాపర్ వచ్చాను. ఇప్పుడు ఎవరో పట్టించుకోవట్లేదు. మీ దగ్గర సబ్జెక్ట్ ఉండాలి, సర్టిఫికేట్ ఉండాలి, అంతే.
కరెక్ట్ కరెక్ట్.
Okay, we have another minute. Any further questions from others?
ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్, థ్యాంక్స్ ఫర్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్.
Okay, thank you.
సార్ హలో
Yeah.
సార్ ఈ ఎగ్జామ్స్ ఎప్పుడు ఉంటుంది సార్ మళ్ళీ?
Mostly September or November.
నవంబర్ అండి.
బట్ ఐఎమ్ నాట్ షూర్, ఎందుకంటే లాస్ట్ కోవిడ్ తర్వాత కొంచెం అటు ఇటు అవుతూ ఉన్నాయి ఎగ్జామినేషన్స్. బట్ ఆ పీరియడ్ లోనూ జరుగుతాయి మనకి.
మిస్ అయితే నవంబర్ లో కండక్ట్ చేస్తారు సార్.
ఆగస్ట్ నుంచి సెప్టెంబర్, నవంబర్, ఈ 3 months లో ఎప్పుడన్నా రావచ్చు, ఆగస్ట్ నుంచి.
ఓకే. ఒకవేళ అయిపోయిన 1 month రిజల్ట్ వస్తుందండి. 1 month
అంతే 1 month లో వచ్చేస్తుంది, మీకు రిజల్ట్ వచ్చేస్తుంది.
ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ లో మన దగ్గర కరెక్షన్ చేస్తారా లేకపోతే బయటకి ఏమైనా వెళ్తాయా?
లేదండి, అదే అసలు ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ కి ఎగ్జామినేషన్ కి మనకి ఏం సంబంధం లేదు, అంతా కూడా స్టేట్ బోర్డ్ చూసుకుంటుంది.
స్టేట్ బోర్డ్.
మనం ఏంటంటే జస్ట్ యాజ్ అన్ ట్రైనింగ్ పార్ట్నర్ గా SBTET మనము క్లాసులు చెప్తాం అంతే. ఎగ్జామినేషన్స్ కి మనకి అసలు ఏ సంబంధం లేదు. పేపర్ అంతా వాళ్ళే సెట్ చేస్తారు, వాళ్ళే కరెక్షన్ చేస్తారు, రిజల్ట్ కూడా వాళ్ళే ఇస్తారు, మనకేం సంబంధం లేదు.
సార్ యాక్చువల్లీ మరి 2 years మోడల్ పేపర్స్ ఉన్నాయి సార్ మన దగ్గర?
ఉన్నాయి, అదే కదా నీకు చెప్తుంది నేను. ఎగ్జామ్ మన సిలబస్ అంతా అయిపోయిన తర్వాత మోడల్ పేపర్స్ అన్ని ఒక 6-7 years మోడల్ పేపర్స్ మనం డిస్కస్ చేస్తాం.
ఓకే సార్, అదే కండక్ట్ చేస్తే మాకు ఈజీగా ఉంటుంది కదా, మనకి ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ లేదు కాబట్టి ఆల్మోస్ట్ మేము
అవును గౌరరాజు, కంపల్సరీగా మనము మోడల్ పేపర్స్ డిస్కస్ చేస్తాము.
అవును సార్.